Hey there, Ralph Garman here. Thanks so much for checking out this free edition of The Ralph Report. If you like what you hear, do me a favor. Subscribe to The Ralph Report so we can put some fun in your ears 5 days a week. And you can listen for as little as $3 a month. So subscribe today so you don't miss out on any of the fun. Go to patreon.com/The Ralph Report and sign up.
Welcome to The Ralph Report with Ralph Garman.
Well, hello there, boys and girls, and welcome to The Ralph Report. Brand new show for you for Tuesday, July 30th. Thanks so much for spending some of your day with us. I am your old podcast pal, Ralph Garman. Sitting here in the Batcave with me is the Vice host himself, a.k.a. Mr. Squeaky Shoes. He is Eddie Pence.
Hey, everybody.
Have you gotten some baking soda yet?
Done it yet.
Will you fix your shoes? For God's sakes. Why do you do that?
I don't know why I choose to live this way, but I do.
Why do you just let it linger? This annoying thing that you hate, you're just now going to live with it.
Just let it go.
Just fix it.
I figure I'll just eventually get new shoes.
Yeah, so 2 years from now, you'll be walking around going, wow, these new shoes are quiet.
I could have been like this the whole time.
My Lord.
I don't know.
Good show for you today, kids. It is Tuesday, of course. That means we'll take a look at one of your favorite all-time TV theme songs on TV Tunes Tuesday. Good one today. It is, I'll give this away if I tell you, but it is the theme song for the longest running show on television.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Also, Steve Ashton will be stopping by, sort of. Weird story. Steve is in India on a job, his real work. He's got a real job. Believe it or not, he doesn't just
dress up
as as UK pop stars and wrestlers for the live Ralph Report, nor does he just do silly little nonsensical fun entertainment reports for us here on the show. He has a legitimate job where he has to travel the world. And right now he's in India. So we tried to record a UK update for you today. And for whatever reason, now you would think India, being India, would be at the front.
Where a lot of telemarketers
right,
are.
Of the front of telecommunications in terms of communicating between the United States and there. But for whatever reason, the program that I was using to record our conversation only recorded my half of the conversation. And we kind of need Steve Ashton to be there when we do Steve Ashton segments. And so due to his scheduling and the time difference, we couldn't do it again. So Steve, God bless him, always the champion of the Ralph Report and a real trooper. He has recorded it as sort of a monologue and sent it along. So we will be playing that for you later on in the show. So he's always there for us. Appreciate it there, Steve. What else? Before we get going, we got your phone calls and all the other nonsense that we usually do. I want to talk about and give my review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the new Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Just opened up this weekend, made a record opening weekend for a Tarantino film of $41 million. And I got a chance to see it last night. And I got to tell you, I was so looking forward to this film for so many reasons. First of all, I like Tarantino. He is, say what you may about him, and I know some people don't care for his work that much. He is a unique voice in modern cinema.
Yeah,
his movies are unlike anybody else's movies. Yeah. You know it's a Tarantino movie when you're watching it. I'm a fan. So I was looking at it looking forward to it for that reason, but also because I love movies and TV shows about Hollywood, about movie making and TV making, and I love that particular era in Hollywood, the late 60s. So it had everything going for me. Going in, my anticipation was high.
Yeah.
So I went to see it last night, and I have to say, I really liked it.
Yeah.
I expected to love it, but I didn't love it. I really liked it. And I'm going to tell you why, and this is spoiler-free because I know it's a brand new film, and a lot of people probably haven't had a chance to see it. You haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
And you're Mr. First Nighter.
I am.
I thought you'd be there on the set while they were making it. Usually that's how you like to see your films, fresh out of the can.
I'll get to it this week. I'm trying.
Yeah, so I won't spoil it for you or for anyone else who is listening, but let me just talk in general terms about the film. And this is largely, I think, based upon my own biases about how I like movies to be and the kind of movies that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, at a running time of 2 hours and 45 minutes.
That's a little short for a Tarantino.
Yeah, I know. He likes his movies long. And sometimes they can they can carry that length.
Did this feel long?
This felt long to me. And I think because he is obviously also very much in love with this time period.
Yeah.
And he went to great lengths to recreate it to the best of his movie-making ability to make it look like 1969 Hollywood. And he does a brilliant job of it. But I think, and this is all conjecture on my part, I think he felt, if I'm going to go all this work and make it look like Hollywood, I'm going to show you a lot of Hollywood, which means a lot of people are just going to drive around the streets of Hollywood.
Right.
There are so many driving scenes in this where people will get into a car and then get on the freeway and then get off the freeway and then go down streets and then go down Ventura Boulevard and then go out on the 101
Right.
and go off to Van Nuys. I mean, there's more Brad Pitt driving in this film, I think, than almost any other element
It's
to
like
the film.
film school editing where you show the guy put the key in the lock and turn the lock and open the handle and open the door. It's like you're showing every little moment.
But
That's
yeah,
not
right.
necessary.
Then show the car on the freeway,
Right.
and then show him pulling into the wherever his location is, and let's move on with the story.
Right,
That's my kind of storytelling. He took his time with the driving. He likes people driving cars, and he does it well. There's a lot of great shots. You can tell the camera's in the back seat, and they're looking through, and they're actually driving. I mean, I get it, and I know perhaps it's representative of what a auto-based society Los Angeles is in Southern California. People spend a lot of time in their cars. I know there's reasons why when you do a Southern California movie, driving
Right.
and the music people listen to in their cars while they're driving play a big role. But this was a little heavy on that. He could have saved himself a good half an hour, 45 minutes by pulling back on some of that driving
Was
stuff.
he you think trying to make that era of Hollywood a character in the film, like giving it that much
It is
screen
plenty.
time?
It is plenty. And this isn't a spoiler, but scenes take place in Musso and Frank's restaurant, which is one of my favorite restaurants in the world. It's the oldest restaurant in Hollywood, just celebrated its 100th anniversary. Several scenes take place in there. Scenes take place at El Coyote, one of my other favorite restaurants near where I used to live there on Beverly Boulevard. Casa Vega. I mean, there's plenty of the Frolic Room. There's plenty of like sort of iconic moments and scenes from that era of Los Angeles that are represented. It just people take a long time to get there. So that stuck out to me as in a little bit of a nagging way. Also, I know Quentin Tarantino has a well-documented foot fetish. He loves women's feet. This is a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a guy who is judging anyone on their sexual interest or what gets them hard. That's not my place.
Right.
And I'm not that kind of guy. But this movie,
A lot of feet.
it looks like often a parody of someone doing a Quentin Tarantino film because so many women bare feet are in the foreground of shots.
Really?
Where he is shooting women talking and their feet, often their dirty feet, are literally first and foremost in the foreground of the shot and everything else is happening behind that.
That's strange.
It is, I don't know if it's strange or not, but it sure is distracting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's taken away from what you're supposed to be watching.
You certainly notice it.
Like that. Then that.
It happens time after time after time where feet become the focus of the frame.
Well,
It's odd.
that's odd.
It's odd, yeah.
Because you're pulling away from what the scene's supposed
Again,
to
not
be
a
about.
spoiler. Sharon Tate goes into a movie theater to see herself in a movie. It's a Matt Hell movie with Dean Martin, and she actually was one of the stars of this film. And she goes in to watch it, and she takes her shoes off and props them up on the seat in front of her at the theater. And you're
watch the
watching
movie
her watch the movie, but her feet are there propped up on the front of the chair in front of her when you go to see her watch the movie. It really stands out
That's strange.
in a big way.
That's strange.
And I don't know.
To put that in your movie.
I don't know whether it stands out in a big way because I know he's got a foot fetish or because if I didn't know, I would have guessed it by the end of this film. Either way, feet are all over. Feet and driving. He sure likes feet. He sure likes driving. That's what I'm saying.
That's what you take away from this movie.
No, obviously that's not. If those are my picayune sort of problems with the film. It's length. It's overdosing.
So
on
less
driving,
feet and less driving.
Overdosing
You
on
love
the feet.
the movie.
But there are some moments in this film that are some of my favorite all-time Quentin Tarantino moments.
Really?
Yes. And I got to tell you something. The star power, the combination of Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt together, you realize you're watching the two last movie stars of this era of filmmaking. When you watch these guys together, they are so in complete control of their craft. And he has done them an enormous favor by writing these two really great characters that, I mean, Brad Pitt is so goddamn cool in this movie.
Yeah.
You can't help but sort of compare him to Redford in his prime in like the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
It's just...
Does Leo get an Oscar in this one, you think?
I don't know. The role's a little slim in terms of... Not in terms of characterization at all. It's a very three-dimensional, well-acted, well-drawn character. But the story itself is light. It's a fairy tale about Hollywood. It doesn't have any of that Revenant kind of heaviness to it at all. It's a much lighter film.
Oh, okay.
And you'll be surprised to know that overall, it's remarkably light on violence.
I heard
this Tarantino.
I heard
film.
this is the least violent of his movies.
I would have to say that's the case. I couldn't, I couldn't tell you that for certain, but it sure seemed that way.
Yeah,
it's much more story driven. And Leonardo DiCaprio, again, no spoiler here, plays a star of a big Western TV show in the late 50s. And by the time the 60s roll around, his career is on the wane, and he's desperately trying to maintain his career in Hollywood and reinvent himself. And because his time is kind of over in terms of television, he ends up doing a lot of guest starring roles on other television shows.
Right.
Some are imaginary, and many of them are actual TV shows from
oh, really?
the 60s, which is really cool because they will take an episode of The FBI, for example, which was an old procedural cop kind of show on television in the 60s, and they will edit in new footage featuring Leonardo DiCaprio into existing episodes of that show seamlessly. So it seems like he's actually appearing on it when he's watching on television. It's a lot of fun kind of stuff in there. He has a fantasy where I don't spoil it, but he has a fantasy where he's recounting a story of how he was almost in a legendary feature film. And while he's telling the story, he's imagining what it would have been like. And so they digitally put him inside that film, and you're seeing scenes from the film as he's telling you the story, how he almost landed this role. So there's a lot of really cool show-busy kind of things in that. His characterization is remarkable. However, though, and again, this goes to length, there is a scene where he is filming a pilot for a TV series, of a series that actually became a show. And they show him on the set preparing for the role and then shooting that role and struggling with it and then overcoming it. And you've seen scenes in the trailer where he looks like a cowboy with a big mustache and everything. They spend a good, I gotta say, almost half an hour on the set of that show, showing him struggling with the role and eventually overcoming. I mean, long pieces of lengthy scenes of dialogue from that show are depicted in front of your eyes. Sometimes it's obvious they're shooting it, and sometimes it's like you're watching the actual show. And that's interesting. Yeah. But not for that long. It's not interesting. Right. At some point, you're kind of like, I'd like to get on with the
large chunk of the movie,
the story that we're talking about here. Although there's a little girl in his performance in that who plays one of the girls from this show that he's filming. Her performance is remarkable. There's so many great moments in this. I mean, truly great moments in this, that whatever complaints I may have or may be expressing to you now are sort of diminished by just the great feeling you get watching these tremendous moments during the film. And you're like, oh, that was so cool. And there's lots of that kind of stuff. And then all the Manson family depiction stuff is just chilling, harrowing. Just watching, they go into the Manson ranch, who was living at this old movie ranch. They had kind of taken it over and they were squatting on it. And they show you what's going on there. And all the stuff involving that was really very chilling and really well done. So, yeah, it's this odd hodgepodge of these two fictional stories mixed with Manson, mixed with Sharon Tate, the victim of the Manson murders.
How's the Bruce Lee stuff?
That Bruce Lee is just one scene.
Oh, it's just one scene? Oh.
It's just one scene, but it is one of the highlights of the film. Yeah, it's so much fun when Brad Pitt and Bruce Lee have to square off against each other, because Brad Pitt plays this badass stuntman who was working on The Green Hornet, which was a series that, of course, made Bruce Lee a star here in the United States. And he's working on the set, and they get into it as sort of like a pissing contest between the two, who's the tougher and better fighter and stuff. And I won't spoil what goes on, but just fun stuff from that era of Hollywood that if you like that kind of thing at all, you'll be blown away. The soundtrack is almost entirely actual recorded audio from KHJ radio here in Los Angeles, which was the monster station at the time. And you hear the original DJs and a lot of the original songs they played. The playlist, I got to get the soundtrack because the playlist is all this great music from the late 60s.
Well, he always has great soundtracks in his films.
But it's cool to hear the actual DJs and the commercials from that radio station being played in the cars as people are driving around. It's consistently this one station that kind of works as an audio theme throughout the entire film. Again, that works on so many levels. It looks great. It's DiCaprio plays a guy who's so insecure and just sort of desperate, so unlike the kind of role he usually plays, that it's remarkable to watch him shine in this thing. And as I mentioned, Brad Pitt, in my opinion, walks away with the film. It's just like, it's a character that we haven't seen in films in general in a long time. It's like a Steve McQueen kind of, Clint Eastwood kind of cool thing going on that is just so much fun. And he's at his best when he's got a lot of humor interjected into his work. So the only thing I have to say is, and this was odd, this was another odd part for me, they did so much digital stuff with DiCaprio as this fictional actor, putting him in and out of television and film with great ease. The scene I was referring to earlier where Sharon Tate goes in to watch herself in this movie, this Matt Helm movie starring Dean Martin.
Yeah.
When she's watching herself on the screen and reacting to it, it's the real actress Sharon Tate in that footage.
They didn't put her in.
They didn't superimpose Margot Robbie into that film, which I found odd.
That is odd.
Because she's like, here I am on the screen. And then you look at her and it's obviously real Sharon Tate. It's not Margot Robbie. So that's like, what, if you're going to do everything else, why wouldn't you do that to keep it consistent, you know? But again, he was too busy thinking about her feet, obviously. So that didn't cross his mind.
That's what you're supposed to focus on in that shot anyway.
Just worry about the feet. There's a point where Brad Pitt picks up a hitchhiker, a hippie hitchhiker. And the first thing she does is she puts her feet up on the dashboard and presses them up against the windshield. So that while you're shooting through the windshield, watching their conversation, her feet are pressed up against the window right in front of your face.
Her dirty ass feet.
Her dirty ass hippie feet. Yeah. It's foot-tastic. There's so much feet. I can't emphasize enough how many naked female feet you'll see.
You give it 10 toes?
I give it 10 toes, yeah. So overall, I can't recommend the film highly enough. There's so much good stuff going on in there that even if you have small quibbles with it like I do, they will melt away and you'll be so glad that you went. And if you can go to an early show, I recommend it.
Because it's long.
Because it is long, yeah. So if you can get in there like, around 6 o'clock or at dinner time or something, you still get out with some energy.
I talked to a couple people that aren't Tarantino fans, and they said this is their favorite of the Tarantino movies. Not being a Tarantino fan.
It's the most accessible in terms of straight ahead storyline. Yeah. About being Tarantino, there are plenty of unexpected plot twists and turns and stuff and everything. He's always full of surprises, this guy, which is another reason I love him. But, and the cast, besides the major three characters that I mentioned, Al Pacino's having the time of his life in there. Kurt Russell shows up. I mean, a lot of Tarantino's former people he's worked with before show up, and it's just so much fun. And again, it's going to sound like I fear that this review will make it sound like I didn't enjoy the film as much as I did. I think I enjoyed it so much that the things that bothered me stand out maybe more than of a film that I didn't love so much. It was a jarring discrepancy between the moments that I was crazy about and then the things that kind of pulled me out of the movie a little bit. But this did too. Sharon Tate, the character, and Margot Robbie specifically as the actress. Remember we talked about that journalist who kind of called Tarantino out and the fact that she didn't have many lines in it? Her role is oddly superficial. I mean, you just really see her driving around with her then husband, Roman Polanski, the film director, her relationship with Jay Sebring, the hairstylist, who was also murdered by the Manson family, her reacting to, the film that she's in, and a lot of her dancing at the Playboy Mansion, dancing, to music with her friends. I mean, it's very 60s sort of go-go kind of stuff. And it is... you don't get a lot of depth going on there.
But I mean, I haven't seen it, but like if it's all set against the backdrop of the Manson murders, right?
Right.
So, like, are you just sort of being like a voyeur into watching her go in and go
Not
through this
really.
thing?
Those are all sort of intimate moments for the most part, like her packing her suitcase, and she's pregnant when she's murdered. So you see her going through her pregnancy issues. You see them all going out to dinner at El Coyote the night that it happened. I mean, they
really focus on it.
recreate the events leading up to that night very faithfully, and maybe I was looking for it because I'd heard that conversation.
Right.
I heard that journalist talk about it, but I could have enjoyed more. I think I would have liked to learn more about her. It was weird. It was like she's obviously a big part of the film, and yet she wasn't given the depth of character that some of the other characters were. Maybe you can't service every character equally in a film that's already two and 3/4 hours long.
Right.
You know? But regardless, Margot Robbie is a vision on screen. She always is. She's always fascinating to watch. You can't take her eyes off of her. She is the focus of love from several men in that film, and you absolutely can buy into that because she's just amazing. And the scene at the Playboy Mansion, I mean, nothing more 60s than Sharon Tate dancing by the pool at the Playboy Mansion. So, yeah, there's a ton of great kind of 60s era stuff. If you're into that time period at all, you'll get a huge kick out of this film. But so overall, again, I know it's going to sound like I didn't like it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed this film. So I recommend it highly. And I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I would.
You're going to see it soon.
I'm going to see it this week. Definitely.
All right. So there you go. There's my review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now it's time to hear from you instead of me. How about the Garmy? We love it when you reach out to us, whether it is via email. Of course, you can write us at ralph@theralphreport.com or Steve or Eddie at that same email address. You can reach us on our social media, or you can do what many folks love to do, which is leave a voicemail on the Ralph Report hotline. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's available to you at that phone number, 1-833-HI-RALPH.
Ugh. What's so?
That's a little creepier than usual. Yeah.
Picture you like Chet from Weird Science, that little booger, that pile of booger dough.
Yeah. Love it when you reach out. I listen to every single one of them. I grab a handful and we put them here at the top of the show in Garmy on the Line.
The telephone is ringing. The Garmy's on the line. Ralph's gonna play your calls now and see what's on your mind.
Blah, 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 blah. You know, yesterday we did a little segment here called our top 3 most overrated musical acts. And I thought I was pretty clear when I said, keep in mind, you don't have to call in or write in and complain about our choices.
Just our opinions.
Just our opinion. No real need to be angry or upset. And yet, when I listened to the voicemail messages today, what do you think made up the majority of those phone calls, Eddie?
Oh, hatred about you not liking Led
A
Zeppelin.
lot of people were angry at me. A lot of people were angry at you about the Doors.
Oh, I got some.
A lot
of
of people were angry at Steve about Prince. Wait, as I mentioned yesterday when I posted it, I think we found a way to piss off almost everyone with this segment in retrospect. And so I said, I'm really not going to just start playing messages from people who are bitching or complaining about who we singled out, or even the ones that agree with us. Yeah, you're right. The Eagles blow, or Kiss is the worst. We got a lot of good and bad phone calls, but there's no real reason to rehash it, except for this call. I was so amused by the rage from this gentleman that I thought this was absolutely worth featuring on today's show.
Look, you fucking twerps. Fuck Frank Sinatra, fuck Iron Maiden, and fuck Elton John.
He's so angry.
Oh my God.
He's so angry.
Fuck Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, that's at me. Fuck Iron Maiden's
That's at
on
me.
you. And then Steve Ashton gets fuck Elton John. So I don't even know which band we bagged on that this guy is so pissed off about.
We all 3 must have hit one.
We must have. Maybe he's like a Coldplay fan who also loves the Eagles and Kiss. I don't know. I can't imagine how that one guy could be so angry at all 3 of us. Or maybe he just doesn't like criticism in general.
I get. Maybe that's it.
Maybe that's
we did
it.
our jobs regardless.
One more time. It's quick, but I love it so much.
Look, you fucking twerps. Fuck Frank Sinatra, fuck Iron Maiden, and fuck Elton John.
Yeah, he's not fooling around
Call
either.
us twerps.
Yeah, fucking twerps.
Is he Biff? What's
Hello, McPence. Yeah, I don't. And he's not playing either.
No, that's pure anger.
That's for real.
That's real.
Again, speaking of yesterday, this isn't a call that either agrees or disagrees. This comes from Tanya, who has never. Well, I'm glad Steve Ashton brought it up into the conversation. Had never heard a Kanye West song before, and so she thanks us for the education.
Hey, Ralph. This is Tanya from Arizona. I've never in my life listened to a Kanye West song, and I literally had to rewind that, I think, 2 or 3 times to hear that lyric, and I'm shocked. And, maybe you cherry-picked, a really good, bad example. Anyway, so thanks for that. Thanks, Steve. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
No, actually, that's fairly representative of Kanye West's music, the song we played yesterday. And I kind of resent you saying that I would particularly pick a bad one to make him look bad, because if I was going to do that, Tanya, then I would have played you a little bit from this Kanye West song called Lift Yourself.
Whoopie scoop, scoop dee whoop, whoop dee scoop dee poop, poop dee scoop dee whoop, whoopie dee scoop whoop poop, poop dee whoop scoop, poop, scoop dee whoop, whoop dee scoop, whoop dee scoop poop.
That's an actual Kanye West song.
I like the Poop Guy song from yesterday way better than this poop song.
Poop in your fingernails
Poop my
and then
fingernail.
just poop, poopity poop.
Both far better than that song.
Yeah. So I would, if I was going to make him look bad, I probably would have played that as the musical sample for Kanye West. And lastly, Bear called in. Remember Bear from up there in Northern California?
The actual bear.
He's an actual bear who calls us from time to time out of the wilderness. Turns out he's got a question.
Hey, Ralph. Bear from Northern California here. Hey, I got a where did it come from for you. I heard some guy telling me that I was going to pay out the nose. And does he want my snot? What does he want? What does that mean to you guys? Anyways, Ralph, doing a great job.
Thank you.
Eddie. All right, I'll see you.
Wow.
Not even a word now. I'm just a noise.
Smarter than the average bear right there. You've heard the phrase before, pay through the nose or pay out the nose. Yeah. We've all heard it, but where does it come from?
Where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from? We want to know. Where did it come from? Say it ain't so. Where did it come from? I fucking will know.
This is the segment where we take a look at idioms and phrases and try to track down their origins. It is an odd one to pay through the nose.
Yeah.
We know what it means. It means you're probably going to pay much more than what is fair, especially when it comes to
like
a price for
off,
something.
Right?
Yeah, right. You're paying more than what you should. You'll be surprised to know that the phrase comes neither from having to do with money or having to do with your nose.
Okay.
Once again, as many of these phrases, it turns out, have their origins in shipping, in sailing, in the sea life.
Nautical terms?
Yes, the sea life, as it were. It turns out paying through the nose was a common expression aboard ship, and it referred to the nose of the ship, or the bow. And have you ever seen those 2 holes on either side of the bow of a ship?
So where the anchor comes out?
That's where the anchor comes from.
Yeah.
Usually there's a large chain that comes out through that hole in the nose of the boat, and as the anchor sinks into the water, the chain gets what the reference in seagoing is the chain gets paid out.
Okay.
The chain is paid out into the water as the anchor sinks. So when they say release an anchor and release the chain through those holes or nostrils on either side of the nose of the ship, it's known as paying out handsomely, or pay out the cable, or pay out the chain. And eventually it morphed into the chain being paid through the nose, just yards and yards of metal chain paying through the nose of the ship as the anchor sank into the water. And eventually the sailors would take that phrase and start using it in everyday life back at home on shore. And it morphed from paying through the nose from a ship into paying through the nose with your money when you overpaid for something.
Right, but you just keep giving money.
More and more. The way chain
keeps coming.
The chain links would just pour out of the nose of the ship as the anchor plummeted to the depths of the ocean.
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting.
once again, we have the sailors to thank.
Yeah.
Now, sailors get a bad rap. Usually they're known for cursing, but it turns out they gave us a lot of phrases,
quite
too.
a bit of the language.
So thanks so much, sailors. Aye, aye. We love seamen.
Where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from? We want to know. Where did it come from? Say it ain't so. Where did it come from? I fucking will know.
Thanks to everybody who called in today, especially that really angry guy. If you hear this and you want to call back and explain to us just which one of us really got you steamed, I would love to have a conversation with you. Unless you're still that angry, then wait a couple days and call back. You too can be featured on Garmin on the Line, but you got to take that first step. You got to call me.
Call me. I'm Ralph. It's the number everyone's talking about. Call me right now at 1-833. Hi, Ralph.
All right, now it's time to take a look through the rearview mirror, through the annals of time, and find out what happened on this day in history.
Ralph's about to solve another mystery. Like yesterday, the day some dude invented Listerine. Or maybe a tyrant king married his sister queen. Who knows, every day seems to be an anniversary. The Garmy's rubbing Ralph's lamp, so grant our wishes, please. And tell us what went down this day in history.
Today, July 30th, on this day in 1733, the Society of Freemasons opened their first American lodge in Boston, Massachusetts. 1733.
Wow.
The Freemasons. I don't trust those fuckers. I don't like anybody with a secret organization that's got secret handshakes and shit. You're not allowed to tell anybody what goes on behind the walls of our meetings.
My dad and brother are Masons.
Figures.
Yeah.
It's usually like white dudes getting together with other white dudes.
Yeah. I'm not a Mason.
No, it's bad news.
I don't do that stuff.
Did you join a fraternity when you were in college?
No, I'm not a group person.
Yeah, I'm not either, and I don't trust them. I don't like them for the most part.
I'm an individual.
Secret organizations give me the willies.
Yeah, I don't dig it.
And on this day in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued his eye for an eye order. For every black prisoner that was killed by the South, he ordered them to shoot a rebel prisoner.
Whoa.
I didn't know Abe didn't fuck around like that.
Damn, he's throwing it down.
He was for real.
Shit.
On this day in 1874, the first baseball teams played outside the United States in the British Isles. It was Boston versus Philadelphia, apparently.
Two of the more friendly fan bases out there.
I don't think the fans traveled probably in 1874. And
could you imagine?
The Brits got their look at American baseball for the first time. Can you imagine they looked and said, "Oh, we thought cricket was bad. Look at this piece of shit.
Come on.
What the fuck are we doing?"
Baseball there and cricket.
On this day in 1908, the around-the-world automobile race ended in Paris. That would be pretty cool to drive around the world. You ever see that movie, The Great Race, by Blake Edwards from the 60s, a comedy?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
it's pretty
yes.
funny stuff. That's what makes me think of. On this day in 1928, George Eastman showed some friends at his New York home the first amateur color motion pictures, 1928.
Oh, amateur.
Somebody was making color motion pictures.
Sounds
It wasn't
like porn.
No, it wasn't a professional. They didn't release it into theaters or anything.
Right.
It was just someone shooting with a brand
Color
new type
camera.
of camera and color film.
Wow.
Yeah. And Thomas Edison was in attendance, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. On this day in 1935, the first Penguin publishing book was released.
Penguin.
And it was the start of the paperback revolution. It took them until 1935 for someone to figure out you didn't have to make a book hardcover.
Oh, my God.
You could make it out of paper and you could stick it in your back pocket.
So much easier to move.
My God, how did it take them that long to figure that out? In this day in 1942, FDR signed the bill that created the Women's Navy Auxiliary Agency, better known as the WAVES, which stood for Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service. They let women in the Navy while all the men were off fighting so that they could do clerical duties and things like that.
But only do emergency, during emergency time. Like
Well,
wartime,
it was
right?
wartime.
Yeah.
That's why FDR declared
That's
it
the
at the
only
time. They needed personnel, and
Right.
so they let them join the Navy for the duration of the war. Just like they let them build bombers and stuff,
Yeah.
Rosie the Riveter and all that kind of stuff. Women did all kinds of groundbreaking jobs during the war because of the shortage of men in the United States.
Booted out when
And
the
then
war
they
was over?
They were quickly booted out of all those positions and sent back to the kitchen, in quotes, afterwards,
Man.
and had to start from scratch all over again. On this day in 1945, after delivering the atomic bomb across the Pacific, the cruiser, the USS Indianapolis, was torpedoed and sunk by Japanese submarine, and 880 of the crew died, many of them attacked by sharks as they floated in the
famous
water.
Quint story from Jaws.
That's right. If you've ever seen Jaws, you may remember that chilling speech that Robert Shaw gives there at the table.
You on the Indianapolis?
What happened? Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. He was coming back from the island of Tinian to Leyte, just delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. The vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer. You know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail. What we didn't know was our bomb mission had been so secret, no distress signal had been sent.
Yeah, they floated in the water for a week. God. Until they were finally discovered.
They made
and
a movie
rescued.
about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Oh, awful.
Sharks. Got dead eyes. Black eyes like a doll's eyes. That's such a great speech. On this day, Eddie, you're going to like this one.
Yeah.
On this day, July 30th in 1948, professional wrestling premiered on primetime network television, Eddie. The Dumont Network. There used to be 4 networks back in the 40s. And 1948, one of the first things that people saw on television was professional wrestling.
It's huge. It's ingrained in our culture. It's huge.
It's dumb. On this day in 1954, Elvis Presley joined the Memphis Federation of Musicians, Local 71. He was a union man even then. Former truck driver, of course, he's going to join the union.
The king.
In 1956, the U.S. motto of "In God We Trust" became the official motto of the United States. 1956.
Yeah.
You know why they did that?
It was because of the Russians, right?
Yes, they wanted to separate us.
Communism, right?
They wanted to separate us from the godless commies over in Russia. So they started adopting all this God stuff that had never existed in American government before.
And it's forever tainted us because people refer to it like it meant something hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, it's like, you can't change that. That's the American way. 1956 is when they slapped that on
Pro
our
wrestling
money.
on TV is older than
That's
that.
right. That's kayfabe,
That's
man.
kayfabe.
And by the way, it's still going on. Did you know South Dakota and Kentucky just passed state laws that "In God We Trust" now has to be somewhere on the public school buildings in every school in the state?
Come on, guys.
You have to put that in the hallways or on the front of the building or somewhere. It must read somewhere "In God We Trust."
Someone needs to sue them because that's not constitutional.
It just seems like these are the people who keep warning us, be careful of the Muslims because they rule by Sharia law in their countries. And you don't want a country that's run by religious zealots. That's not what you want.
No.
So you have to attack the Muslims. Meanwhile, they're pushing their own religious agenda through the government.
The Christian Taliban, it's not that far from the truth.
Craziness. On this day in 1960, the first AFL preseason football game was held. There used to be 2 professional football leagues in this country.
AFL, NFL.
Yeah, and then they eventually merged. But this first preseason game featured the Boston Patriots against the Buffalo Bills, and the Patriots beat them 28-7. So little has changed since 1960.
More things change.
Patriots still beating up on the Bills. On this day in 1965, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, our president, signed the Medicare bill, which went into effect in 1966. And speaking of 1966, on this day, the American Beatles album Yesterday and Today went to #1 on this day and stayed #1 for 5 weeks. They really fucked up the Beatles when they came to the American releases because they never released the albums as they were recorded from England. They would take them and strip off some of the songs and mix them around and change them. So this album was never only released in America. It was made up of a lot of songs that they had pulled off of other albums because they were just too long. Americans, they wanted their album shorter.
Really?
Yeah, Capitol Records did anyway. So this was sort of like a compilation album of stuff that had been left over from some previous releases, and it still went to #1. On this day in 1969, Barbra Streisand opened up for Liberace at the International Hotel in Las Vegas. How gay was that audience? Right? That's like the dream show. My God.
So much gayness.
That's crazy. 1975, U.S. Teamster President Jimmy Hoffa disappeared in suburban Detroit. He was never seen again after that.
It's in the Meadowlands, right?
That's
Apparently.
what they say. He's in one of the
zone.
end zones. I don't know if that's true or not. On this date in 1977, I Just Want to Be Your Everything by Andy Gibb reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It's if you weren't around now, it's hard to imagine how big Andy Gibb was in 1977. First of all, his brothers, the Bee Gees, had already exploded, especially with the success of Saturday Night Fever, that soundtrack. But he also had 6 singles that reached the top 10 in the 70s, 3 others that reached the top 20. So that's 9 songs in the top 20 in the span of about 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. This was the first one, however. It's called I Just Want to Be Your Everything.
I just wanna be your everything. Open up the heaven in your heart and let me be the things you are to me, and not some puppet on a string.
It didn't hurt that he had his brothers writing his songs and singing backup on the songs either. So they sounded like Bee Gees songs more than
they sing so high pitched.
Yeah, it's crazy. He died 30 years old when he died of a drug overdose, and he was trying a comeback. That's
At
how
30.
That's how meteoric his rise was, and then how quickly he fell out of favor. It's kind of crazy. The soap opera Santa Barbara premiered on this day, July 30th, in 1984. Lasted till 1993. And then in 1991, a little band called Metallica released a single that would define them for the rest of their careers. It was a little something like this. I'm just going to play you the intro, see if you know what I'm talking about. Enter Sandman, of course. Yeah. That's got to be their most famous hit.
I would think so. Before then, one was pretty huge.
Yeah, but I think
that
this
one
overtook
it. That one, yeah.
And I saved the food-related days in history for the end because it's always fascinating to see if Eddie Pence eats something or not. I will describe the food of the day. Then we will pull the handle of the patented Eddie Pence jackpot slot machine. If 3 of those items come up on the reels, then there's a big payout. That means he eats it. And if it doesn't, well, then that's just Eddie being Eddie. Today's day in history, on this day in 1729, Eddie.
Going way back.
The city of Baltimore was founded. That's when the city of Baltimore became an actual city. And of course, Baltimore is known, its primary food that its claim to fame is of course the blue crab. The blue crab population of the Chesapeake Bay was recently estimated at 300 million. They speculate there are 300 million blue crab in the Chesapeake Bay at any given time.
That means you just can't even see the sea floor, I would imagine.
I can imagine.
It's just all crab.
Yeah. So they pull them up and they eat them like crazy there in Baltimore, as they pronounce the name of that town. In fact, so much so that they created the crab seasoning known as Old Bay comes out of Baltimore. They invented that. And I found out by doing research on this that Old Bay, the crab seasoning they put on these blue crabs when you crack them open and eat them, it was created in part to keep customers thirsty and ordering more beer. They found they would sell more beer if they had some sort of spicy seasoning to put on the crabs.
Brilliant.
I have been in Baltimore. I have been there by the Chesapeake Bay, and I have put on my crab bib, and I've taken those little suckers and with a mallet and busted them up and eaten that sweet, sweet crab meat. It is delicious, but that doesn't mean anything when it comes to Eddie Pence. There's all sorts of delicious things he won't eat. Let's find out if he eats the delicious blue crabs of Baltimore. Let's pull that handle. Here we go. We got 1 crab, 2 crabs.
Now, I have to say something about blue crab.
Well, I would hope you would.
It's not that I don't like the taste of blue crab. I like the taste of blue crab.
Okay. This should be good.
It is not worth the time and effort to get that little amount of meat out of that crab.
That's part of
to
the
eat
fun.
it. No, it is not. Your fingers get cut, and then the Old Bay gets in the cut, and then you spend half the time sucking on your thumb because your finger hurts. And you could sit there and break open 30 blue crab and get maybe a cup of meat.
Come on, it
is the biggest waste of time.
No, you're not eating blue crab to fill up. That's not.
Then why are you eating it?
Why do you eat peanuts in the shell? at a baseball
Because I like
game.
the taste of peanuts and I eat them and it's over.
Right.
But it doesn't take me 30 minutes to get a peanut out of a shell.
It's a lot of work to shell peanuts to eat
No,
what's
it's
inside,
not.
and you're getting a little nut like this. It's kind of the same thing. You get a big bucket of clams,
Not even close.
and you crack them open and you eat what's inside.
You sit there forever picking away to get like
Eddie.
barely a handful of crab meat in 2 hours.
You sound like a big baby.
When it
now.
comes to blue, I don't understand it.
Oh, it's so good.
I'll eat snow crab. You just crack a leg open, you get the meat out.
Yeah,
you're good.
But these are different.
Blue crab, you're sitting there for the hammer and a fork, and
oh my god,
it's a pain in the ass. I hate it.
What's your hurry? Where do you got to go that you can't sit down and eat some
If you
blue
want to
crabs?
crack open the blue crab, I'll eat it. But
Oh.
I'm not going to dig through that
I see.
carcass.
We'll get you a butler to come by and crack your crab.
Give me
for
an
you.
Alfred to crack my blue crab.
My God,
it's a pain in the ass.
What a weenie. Well, no surprise there. Eddie Pence is not eating that delicious
it's not
blue
worth
crab.
it. Not worth it.
Well, as Eddie says, it just means more for me. That's all. And that's today's day in history.
I pity the fool who ain't been schooled by Ralph recently. He's dropping college level knowledge with such accuracy. It got my head spinning faster than a drunk Eddie. And I'm rocking the back and track with a rap like a bad celebrity. I hope Cooperman loves my beats, cause that rhymes with LMB. And that's a wrap for the Ralph Report today in history.
15 cents a day, y'all.
That's right. Hey there, it's Ralph Garman here. I hope you're enjoying the show. And if you are, why not subscribe to the Ralph Report so you can hear it every day, Monday through Friday? For just 15 cents a day, you can be a one-star general supporter, and that will get you the show in your ear holes Monday through Friday. Of course, there are 2, 3, and 4-star general levels as well, which get you more bonus content and more access to me. So if you like what you're hearing, why not subscribe? Go to patreon.com/The Ralph Report. That's patreon.com/The Ralph Report. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Now it's time to take a look at all the entertainment news with a segment I call the Showbiz Beat. Oh, this guy's at it again. You're a ghost buddy, Eddie.
Oh, what's
Zach
it? Zach
Baggins.
Baggins.
Yeah, we were just talking about Sharon Tate. The newest piece of creepy Charles Manson memorabilia in his museum is he just bought her wedding dress. So now he owns Sharon Tate's wedding dress.
Why?
He bought that at auction for $56,000.
She wasn't killed in it.
No, but it's the dress she wore in her 1968 marriage to Roman Polanski, and now it's on display at his museum because he says it is tangentially related to the Manson murders because she was his victim, and now he's got her wedding dress, and there's a lot of energy that comes off of that dress because it came from an important day in her life.
I could see if he's got the actual clothes she was murdered in.
You could see that, could you?
Well, for what he's trying to use it for.
Yeah.
But not her wedding. That's like any other article of clothing throughout her life is tangentially
Well, it was the
connected.
day she got married. That's probably more significant than like a sweater she wore to the supermarket.
If she got married to Manson, then it would make sense.
Either way, this ghoul is just trying to create more people to give him money to look at the property of victims, basically. That's what this guy's all about. It makes me sick to my stomach. He also, by the way, owns some of Manson's ashes and some bone fragments and some other stuff that he got when Manson was cremated after he died in prison. So he's a good guy. Your friend
He's
Zach.
not my friend.
He's
I don't
your best
know him.
friend.
He's not my
and he's a
friend.
creepy ghoul.
I will go to his museum in Vegas.
And I hate him. I hate this idea too. Friends' 25th anniversary, Eddie, is coming up.
Are they doing something?
Oh, yeah. It has spawned a pop-up experience in New York City. Yep.
Tired of pop-ups.
In Soho, the Friends 25 space allows you to live out your friends' fantasies, Eddie. You get to sit on a recreation of the set.
And then you can take a picture and put it on Instagram.
You get to have your photos with props and costumes.
Who gives a shit?
You can stick a turkey on your head, which I
God.
guess happened in an episode.
Yes.
You can relax on Chandler and Joey's recliner.
Why?
You can play some foosball in their apartment. Anything you want to do is recreated there in this pop-up. You can get there for the low price, Eddie, of $29.50 with reservations.
Stupid.
Tickets go on sale August 2nd, exclusively at friends25popup.com if you're in the New York area and you want to celebrate a TV show that is 25 years old and has not aged very well.
That was shot in Los Angeles on a soundstage.
Then go nuts. Slap down your $30 and live your life. Who am I to say otherwise? Meanwhile, it's what I'm going to do with my money. I'm doing this. The Star Trek The Motion Picture is returning to theaters for its 40th anniversary.
Oof.
What?
That's a long, boring movie.
That movie has gotten a bad rap.
I tried to
years.
rewatch it. It's a long, boring
It's
movie.
good.
Star Trek 2, much better watch.
Oh yeah, it's a better
Yeah.
film, but one really gets a bad rap.
Why?
And I don't think it's nearly as bad as it is,
It's
as people
really
say.
long and really
I watched it
boring.
recently on television. I was like, this is fascinating stuff. And you have to remember, those visuals at the time were breathtaking. We hadn't seen anything like that going through dry dock with the Enterprise. That was impressive. And V'ger and that bald chick, all that cool stuff going on. Anyway, Fathom Events is doing a 2-day only revisit of that series, September 15th.
Wasn't the guy,
and
the
18th.
main guy in there, busted for kiddie porn?
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Stephen Collins.
Did they take him out of the movie digitally?
I don't believe so. No,
Because
I
they
think
pulled
he's
Seventh
still
Heaven
in it.
off the networks.
Yeah, they should send him out an airlock or something. They should reshoot some footage and get rid of Stephen Collins. I forgot about that. Hey, listen, Eddie Pence.
Yes.
And any other actor out there who bitches about their auditions, I don't want to hear it anymore, because this guy had the worst audition in history.
Really?
You'll never have an audition as bad as this guy, Alex Schoenauer.
Uh-huh.
Alex Schoenauer is a former MMA fighter who appeared on season 1 of UFC's The Ultimate Fighter, and he lost to Forrest Griffin.
Yeah.
He got out of the MMA game and is now a stuntman, professional stuntman. And he had to go audition for JMP Productions, which makes action shows like SEAL Team and SWAT. And according to his lawsuit, for his audition, he had to burst through a door with a stunt woman at the Oak Tree Gun Club in Southern California while they were both carrying semi-automatic assault rifles, and they had to show they could look convincing while doing stunts carrying them.
Okay.
Now, here comes the bad part. The guns were loaded with live ammunition, and the stunt woman accidentally fired her gun and shot him through the upper back.
Why do they have loaded guns?
That is the question he would like to have answered
What
in a
the
court of
hell?
law. Yes. It exited through his upper arm and shoulder. Apparently, the injury was not life-threatening. However, he would still like to be compensated for that accident that happened.
Oh, he should sue the shit out of them.
And it wasn't even shooting something. It was an audition to be a stuntman for one of those shows.
Even the shows don't have live rounds.
No, they're very
Guns.
particular.
Yes.
That's why I think it went awry, because on set, those people are meticulous about firearms. I think if you did an audition at a gun club, maybe they picked up the wrong gun, or
Oh
maybe
my
nobody
God.
was looking too carefully.
That's crazy.
But
'Cause usually on set, you get the big long spiel from the guy with the guns.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He gives it to you and then takes them right away.
the minute you're done filming, the guy comes up and takes it out of your hand.
Yeah.
So Alex Schoenauer is his name. He is suing everyone, from the production
do
company to the stunt coordinator, even the woman who shot him. He is suing everybody
Sue
for
everyone.
unspecified damages. So we don't know how much he wants, but I can imagine
That's way worse than my audition.
it's a couple
story.
bucks, right? So what's the worst thing you ever happened?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What was the worst audition you ever had?
I went in for a video game audition.
Okay.
And where they motion capture you.
Uh-huh.
And I'm supposed to move around the room like I'm sneaking in, like I'm busting. I got a machine gun in my hand. and
Right.
I'm supposed to go behind table, but it's an empty room. I have
Okay.
to space work all of this.
Gotcha.
I'm doing it, and I'm like, halfway through, I come to the realization of what I'm doing, and I just get this like, what am I doing in my head?
Right.
And by that point, the cast manager just looks at me and she goes, "That's enough of that." And then I just walk out the door, and I never come back. But her just to go, "That's enough of that."
Yeah. You're embarrassing yourself and me.
Oh my God.
Stop doing
Worst
that.
audition I've ever had in my life.
Okay, so that was bad. Nobody shot you.
Nobody
though,
shot
did
me
they?
because it was all fake guns.
See, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Speaking of the MMA, Dana White proved how insanely rich he is at his 50th birthday party. He partied on Sunday with some friends, and the entertainment, this is how you know when you're rich. The entertainment was Don Henley. He came by and performed for the crowd. You wouldn't have liked that because you don't like the Eagles.
Not really.
And then Gwen Stefani came out and she did a set.
As long as she doesn't do that Christmas song with what's his face, I'm fine.
Blake Shelton.
Oh God, that song sucks.
How much money does it cost to have those two people perform at your party? One of them would have to be
That would be like all the money, I
a
think.
couple million, right?
Yeah.
They're not just showing up and doing parties. Yeah.
Unless you have some dirt on them.
Also there at the party, by the way, Red Hot Chili Peppers frontman Anthony Kiedis, because apparently he's good friends with him. Maybe a part owner for all I know.
You wouldn't want to go to that.
No, I wouldn't. We all would have been very unhappy at that
We
party.
both hated that party.
And lastly, speaking of music, Meatloaf has finally settled a lawsuit over one of his biggest hits. Remember I Would Do Anything for Love?
How could you forget it?
And I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Well, he was sued by a guy who goes by the name of Dunmore, who claimed in 1989 he released a song called I Would Do Anything for You. And then Meatloaf comes out with a song called I'll Do Anything for Love in 1993. And he said, you stole my song. It's the same themes, the same progression of chords. It's the same tone. There's a female singer in the background. You have stolen my song. And apparently now they've decided not to go to court over this one. And they are settling out of court, which makes me think that maybe there's something to this.
That might be.
All right, you know the song, right? I'm going to play a little bit of I Would Do Anything for You. And you let me know if you hear a similarity or not, okay?
It's you I need and I need you now. I can't hold on. I'll do anything for you. I sell my soul if you want me to. I'll do anything for you. I would give
I can kind of.
It certainly has the same pattern for sure.
I would never hear both those songs.
If I heard that song, I would go, oh my God, this sounds just like the Meatloaf song.
It's not like Ghostbusters and New Drug.
I don't think Meatloaf should be throwing away his money, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Unless they're asking for so little that maybe it's better to pay
away.
it than to pay the lawyers, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't hear it that well.
I don't either. All right, let's take a look at today's celebrity birthdays. All these stars born on this day, July 30th. Drummer Brad Hargreaves from Third Eye Blind is 48 years old today. Movie director Peter Bogdanovich is 80 years old. Actor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I'm 72 today. It's unbelievable. Look at me, it's 72. I still have huge muscles. Jean Reno is 71. Lawrence, don't call me Larry Fishburne, is 58 years old today. Jazz saxophonist David Sanborn is 74 years old today. Smooth jazz. That's not finger banging music, is it?
That's a dry humping music.
Okay. Actress Lisa Kudrow. We're just talking about Friends. 56 years old today. Terry Crews from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is 51. Christopher Nolan, movie director, is 49 years old. And singer-songwriter Kate Bush is 61 years old today. Huge star in the UK. Not so much here in the United States. You know why? She won't tour over here. Won't get on a plane. Scared to death of flying.
Well,
so she's never been in the United States to tour.
She didn't have to.
She doesn't have to, but I sure would like to see her. I love her music.
When I was a child, running in the night, afraid of what might be, hiding in the dark, hiding in the street, and the world was full of enemies. The hounds all over hunting.
She won't take a boat?
I guess she could take a boat.
Why can't she
Maybe
take a
she
boat?
has performed here. I know if she has, it's been very rare to see her over here in concert. Hilary Swank is 45 years old. Jamie Presley is 42. Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck and now The Handmaid's Tale is 37. Martin Starr used to be on Freaks and Geeks, most recently in the new Spider-Man movie. He plays their teacher when they're in there in Europe. 37 years old. Gina Rodriguez from Jane the Virgin's 35. And blues guitarist Buddy Guy, one of the greats, is 83 years old today.
The gates of heaven must be open. I think I saw an angel just walk by.
How good is
That's
he?
a good song, man.
Oh, man. You know, if being sad makes you make that kind of music, then I'm glad the blues guys are sad because I love me the blues. That's it for today's Celebrity Birthdays. I'm Ralph Garman. I walk the showbiz beat. But we're not done with the entertainment news just yet. Oh, no. Now it's time to hear from our pal over there in the UK, Mr. Steve Ashton.
Oh, Ralph, you're the man who makes Sachin Tendulkar look like Mother Teresa. Now, if you don't know who Sachin Tendulkar is, he's widely regarded as one of the finest batsmen in the history of cricket. And of course, it was National Tiger Day, wasn't it, the other day? And we all know where tigers come from. That's right, from their mummies. Tummies. Now, Ralph, the other day you were talking about wanting to know what Delhi was like. You were saying it's smelly, it's chaotic, there's shit and smoke everywhere. Well, you know, that's a very broad, sweeping generalization. And I would like to say, yes, it's absolutely like that. It's fucking chaos. Anyway, look, pasty wanker Sheeran is in the news. Yeah, Ed Sheeran is going to some pretty extreme lengths to stop his neighbours filing noise complaints about him. He spent £4 million to buy the houses around his London mansion. Instead of thinking like, you know, fuck them and be all rock and roll, he's bought the houses next to them so he can play his unique brand of musical diarrhea as loud as maybe 4 on his stereo. And the warbling poo monkey continues to battle his neighbours in Sussex over an apparent wildlife pond being used as a pool. According to locals, he's taking matters into his own hands. Now, it comes after his wife reportedly continued to anger locals after positioning a bunch of hay bales around the controversial pond. Well, they should be fucking thankful. I mean, imagine, right, you're out for a nice Sunday walk, you know, in the morning, and suddenly you're greeted with a semi-nude Sheeran looking like Jacob fucking Marley on his vacation. No, thank you very much. Now, apparently, Ed was granted permission to build on the site on condition that it would be a natural habitat to attract wildlife. And I don't see the problem because my understanding is he's part albino otter. Amy Winehouse is in the news also. I was just watching her documentary recently. So heartbreaking. She's, her piece of living shit ex-husband has made a shameless bid for a £1 million stake in her fortune. Now, the drug addict Blake Fielder, Civiline, Borderline, Federline, or some fucking something, he admitted to introducing her to heroin and wants a lump sum and allowance. Now, Amy, who died in 2011, didn't actually have a will, so her £3 million estate went to her mum Janice and her dad Mitch. The pair were married for 2 years, of course, not her parents, but Federal, Borderline, Civil, Blake, whatever the fuck, and Amy Winehouse. They were married for 2 years and divorced in July 2009. She gave her ex a lump sum of 250 grand when they split up, but lawyers are now saying that the wording of the settlement could mean that he might be entitled to more cash, especially if he needs to buy a house or some soap because he's a shower allergic fucking clown. At Amy's funeral, her dad talked about her battle with the booze. And he also tried to shill his shitty singing career, because I'm not sure if you knew he had his own singing career, and he was dreadful. He actually played at a friend of mine's wedding, and he was awful. Anyway, Amy Winehouse dead. James Corden. Anyway, look, I've got to go now, gang. I'm ordering a bunch of hay bales myself, and I'm going to be putting them in front of my television just in case Sheeran ever pops up on it.
And of course, today is Tuesday around here. That takes on a special meaning. We take a look at some classic TV songs with TV Tunes Tuesday.
Here we go. You know what day it is. It's TV Tunes Tuesday. On today's Ralph Report.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah,
I
me
do.
too.
I really do.
As I teased at the top of the show, it is the theme song from the longest running show on television. Any guesses, Eddie?
Is it currently still on?
It currently is still on. I'll give you a little bit more detail. It debuted in 1989. It has had 662 episodes since it's been broadcast, the longest running American sitcom and the longest running American scripted primetime television series in history.
I know.
You know?
Simpsons?
The Simpsons, indeed.
Yeah.
Manny called in asking for this one.
Hi, Ralph. This is Manny from Torrance, and I wanted to call to give my suggestion for TV Tunes Tuesday. I was a child that grew up in the 90s, and there was no bigger show for me and my brother than The Simpsons. And I think it has an iconic opening theme. And just starting off with that opening, and the clouds opening and zooming in on the town of Springfield was just so huge for us as we were growing up. And given the fact that it is the longest running animated series, and I think the longest running scripted series, I think it deserves a nod. That's my suggestion. Thanks. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Thanks so much, Manny. You know, he's absolutely right. That opening sequence, besides just the song, that sequence is one of the most iconic in television history. Because think about it, it changes
all the time.
Every episode, something is different in it. Whether it's what Bart is writing on the chalkboard, or
they slam on the couch,
right? How they all come together before they watch it. It's remarkable. They went to that much work to make that opening sequence so memorable. It really is one of the great theme songs of all time by, of course, legendary composer Danny Elfman. Matt Groening himself approached him and requested him something retro, sort of a retro-style sitcom theme, and that's what Danny came up with. Danny says it took him 3 days, 2 hours, 48 minutes, and 19 seconds to create that entire song.
Wow.
From writing to recording, it only took 3 days to put that all together. And it's been rearranged a couple different times, or different versions, depending on which season you listen to. But this is probably the one most people know. Here it is from season 1, The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
Envision everything that's happening as you hear that in your head, right?
it.
Truly, one of the great shows of all time, and certainly one of the great themes of all time. That was today's TV Tunes Tuesday.
Here we go. You know what day it is. It's TV Tunes Tuesday. On today's Ralph Report.
I like that one.
Yeah, Eddie likes that one. I gotta trim that out.
Yeah, I think
it's getting a little old.
It annoys the shit out of me.
That's it for today's show. Tomorrow, of course, is a Wednesday. Don't tell me I know something happens on Wednesdays.
One Hit Wonder?
You got that right! It is One Hit Wonder Wednesday. We'll play one of the smash hit songs from the past that no one ever heard of that person again after it was all over.
Sad.
Remember when you ran away and I got on my
You
knees?
just got people over that, and now you're going to bring them back into it.
You know, now that we played that, a lot of people are asking for some weird sort of novelty stuff, which we didn't usually do. Usually we do like the pop hits and stuff. Maybe it's time to do a bit of a deep dive into some real weird one-off novelty
Stuff that
songs.
somehow made to the top of the
Yeah,
charts.
that you won't believe made it, and also you'll never want to hear again after we talk about it. Anyway, that's tomorrow's show. Come on back, won't you? Love you. Mean it. Bye.